going to go for? Because thinking back, I mean, okay, so we've got Reject. They seem to be picking up the Bloodhound here, and then looking at Fennel, they've gone for Gibraltar. Now, Bloodhound, at the moment, unless you are contesting, you generally would not pick up this hero. Actually, Red Ram's going for it. So, I mean, though as we saw last game, they're a very aggressive team. So it's a very particular playstyle, but most teams are going towards the Seer and the Crypto if you're looking for those recon characters in the current meta.
Getting early information, obviously, on the positioning, when you know everybody is going to have that white Evo shield here, unless you get lucky when there's 30 seconds left before that first circle closes, is when the Evo Harvesters present themselves. A lot more slower of a pace as we see here. Dogma splitting over to the side. I always get a little worried here when you are trying to contest a squad and you have that one sole player over by the cart because there's so much open ground to transition through. But of course, if you are on the Pathfinder, you could try to grapple away. You did mention Fennel rocking the Gibraltar. You could use that dome to close in that distance, and he picked up the Massive and Sentinel for his starting weapons.
Funnily enough, he's actually using it at range, whereas when we see these contests, it seems like most players with the Sentinel, you know, kind of want to get up close and personal and just hit that 88, hit that, you know, whatever you can get out with it, because it's just, it does so much damage in one shot that it just creates this instant opening for teams who are, you know, going with the contest. But as you can see right now, remember the way they were splitting the high ground in the first game. You know, we were talking about how much loot is on one side versus the other. We're actually seeing Reject play it a little bit slower here and loot the low ground as well, just to maybe try and eke out that little bit of an extra advantage against Fennel here.
It's the respect. Right now, you could tell Fennel smells blood right now after their win from the 50-50 in game number 1, and Reject don't want to put themselves in a vulnerable position. So playing it safe, wrapping around, Dogma's with the rest of his squad. But while this fight unfolds very slowly, it's also the fight for information. There is a survey beacon on that cart, which is why these two squads want to fight for that middle ground. But while they're taking their time, look who's to their south. Look who's already rotated from the with a ring console. It is Falcons here, and Ninjas in Pajamas lose out on Amphi with a rough start to take off the second game.
Oh, Ninjas in Pajamas. It was a very early exit in game 1, and they've repeated it in game 2. Nasky in shambles right now, and look, this is something that we actually talked to the teams, you know, previously to starting, Vicky, was it's a 10-game series.
Yeah.
Momentum matters more than ever. If you have 3-4 bad games to start with, how are you going to make that ground back up?
Especially if to consider like the 2 RNG maps that you don't really know how you're going to try to partake in this approach. But remember, we mentioned Team Falcons, and Hal gets the knock onto Younghee here too. So while they wrap around here, RC looking to try to restabilize.
Yeah, and you know, if you're wondering why we've all got all this action happening all of a sudden, we're getting what looks to be actually a checkpoint zone. You know, most of the time it swings up further towards North Pad, and you see people just going through this area, but this time, very much, it looks like to be finishing on checkpoint. Which
means that you can expect so many other teams to show face here if this fight takes any longer, because now Jen literally won. Hal cleans up the rest. Reject, Winity get taken out. But there's 3 other teams around checkpoint who have heard this fight, Disguise being one of them. Guild Esports to see if they can wrap around and maybe show face alongside GK.
Yeah, well, if you're wondering whether the fused Motherlode was still scanning people at a large range, as you can see it is. And it's quite effective going off that fight. Hal picking up 3 kills, courtesy at least somewhat of the scanning abilities of Fuse. So they take up a good position, get the reset. They're all back up and healthy now on the Team Falcons side, which I know they've got plenty of supporters here in Saudi.
Currently, we have 10 teams who have ring console info, who've already moved over by checkpoint. FaZe being one of the teams to take space inside that southern building, although I do believe this circle is going to be pulling more north. We've seen it by the hill south of Falcons, but with this approach, currently FaZe are looking at Fennel.
Yeah, exactly. You've got teams down the south here. I mean, if we get a crazy pullback, potentially, but yeah, I think, as you said, it's more likely to be towards the northern side. So FaZe down here fighting towards teams like Fennel. JHS are actually pulling up now. They're in the tunnel close by, and then you've got Guild coming in from down Beast where they start.
GHS are also going to be able to gatekeep the teams that want to go through the bunker side if you exit out of Cedo. Since there is a ring console there, you could expect teams that play more so by the edge, like Aurora, like we talked about before, Gaming Gladiators, Crazy Raccoon, to try to probably fight for not only Evil Harvester there, but also for that information if they just want to camp that out. But majority of this lobby will be coming in from the north side, as we've already seen before, like Icholos coming from North Pad. Falcons, though, may not even have a second to breathe. Reject Winity get deleted here, but the nice side-by-side as Team Liquid also coming in from the low ground. They are neighboring. We saw Disguise earlier on before, but I believe this is Makers that are neighboring them.
Just trying to take it easy, use that, use the seer scan here on the low ground, the heartbeat sensor. It's one of the reasons why people pick Seer. They want that passive information. What's playable? Who's around us? You know, do we have space to make that move? You don't necessarily have to face check every position as you try and take it.
I remember when that tactical did damage.
Oh.
Sorry, PTSD moment right there, guys. Yeah. And Twisted Minds, I mean, I talked about gatekeeping from the bunker side. GHS have given up that space for free. And now Twisted Minds moving forward to take that space instead, through with the Trident to also add in some extra cover. But FaZe on the other side looking at them, you can see the ping from Easy Flash.
That man looks locked in.
Oh yeah, like, look at him.
He is like, looks like he's about to stare laser beams into that PC monitor. No wonder they had such a good game. If Easy Flash is on his game, man, that team pops off.
He's a scary player. Every time we see him have one of those moments. And you know, actually playing from this position, it works out for them, but they are going to have to probably move from there eventually. We don't really see circles pull right on top of the bunker usually, so being on the Watson, the Seer, the Bangalore, you know that game plan is going to be to try to bunker down with the Watson Gen or try to force out some squads with the Seer ult who are going to be forced to play inside of these buildings. Destroying that Crypto Drone, though, is Disguise. We mentioned it before, but they were one of the teams to go in from a quick rotate. And since they do land by North Pad, it's easily expected here, but neighboring them on the other building of Checkpoint is Falcons with a plethora of death boxes to have loot from.
They are looking well stocked, as you say, and you know, Fuse obviously having the advantage of being able to double stack nades in the inventory as well, and you know, you also have the advantage of not really having to use the nades until you absolutely need them, because you can just throw out the knuckle clusters on repeat. It's such a good character for aggression, and all it needed was one little push to get into the meta, right? Just giving it the Ring Master upgrade and being able to replace another character who would scan ring consoles all of a sudden made it such a strong pick for teams who want to play edge, who want to play aggressive, and that's why we're seeing it at such a high percentage pick rate in this tournament.
Yeah, the evac towers exploit was just a little cherry on top to what was already strong here with the perk systems being introduced onto a character like Fuse. Very strong character when it comes to trying to force option select as well, as we take a look at Red Rams creeping up by the cliff side. Nice crack here, following up though with a 30-30 in hand. We talk about the knuckle clusters, feeling that pressure, but this team is stuck by this choke here. Nice little crack, while the rest of his squad is trying to take a much more aggressive position.
Okay, taking the peeks through the side here. Seer ultimate goes out. They can't get past the Watson fences, but do they need to?
I mean, knock knock, Luminosi's coming up from right behind him, but is this a fight worth taking when you are essentially about to get sandwiched? LG on one side, we know that Evos are on the other. This is a sandwich that you do not want to be part of as Pioneers get taken out in your feeds. Red Rams may not have enough time to reset though. Yeah.
Red Rams, as you say that, do go down. Added a couple of kills, so they're really just chipping in away with the KP. That's how they've decided they want to, you know, make sure that they don't have any horrible games. You know, you can't get donuts if you're always winning at least one team fight, and then maybe someone cleans you up, but, well, you know, you did something.
It's a little chef's kiss too, you know, for LG to get a little bit of revenge, you know. Of course, even with the third party, you take whatever you could get, any crumbs available for you after a really rough start for game number one. Now still alive here as we take a look at our game one winners. Aurora with that slow rotate, their priority, rain consoles, the survey beacons out here, rather. The Evil Harvester, oh my goodness, they just 3-2-1'd him so hard, and then sets up the zip line for the Pathfinder.
And the other thing is, Evo's Predator are so split. The 3 players from our Thai team, the qualifiers from APAC South, was so far away from each other that there's almost no chance of a reset there. The other 2 know that, and they just have to get out immediately. There's really no chance for them to come back after that very, very quick down there from Aurora.
And everyone knows, especially, you know, playing Apex, when you get 3-2-1 like that, that is just an absolute spirit killer. Like, when you know that that was just an absolute, what can you do? Like, there's nothing you could have done in a situation like that. You were trying to get information at the wrong time. No one was there to cover you. You thought that your backs were cleared. Aurora being a slow rotating team, though, I mean, they rotated all the way around if you consider the fact that they landed in Cenote, and then they landed all the way wrapped around, probably from the north side of Checkpoint is going to be their next approach. But Gino, this circle isn't pulling to the north side of Checkpoint. This circle is pulling directly on the buildings where FaZe have been from the very beginning.
Hot diggity. We talked about it. We talked about it as a possibility. We said it was the low one, and you know, if you're looking at the map for this, it's wow. It's there's not a lot of teams who have predicted this. Essentially, you know, the buildings down there, they're not all taken. There is a lot of space down the bottom.
It's hard too, because if you do want to try to fight for that position where FaZe was earlier on, it's so much open ground. You could get pinged from so many different angles. Bombardment coming in for Fennel.
Yeah, well, it looked like Fennel actually got a reset after, I guess, that initial contest didn't go so well for them. That's why they're coming into this late stage of the game. They got whites and blues. That makes it almost impossible to win that fight there versus Crazy Raccoon.
And that is the Evo Shield advantage that we currently see from Crazy Raccoon to be able to get the res here on top of the loot. And they're going to be uncontested, right? Nobody else is looking at them from the Cedo side, because a lot of these other teams are going to be rotating from the east side of this zone.
Okay, FaZe Clan, one of the only teams in a good position south of the main checkpoint buildings. That is the place to be. Pretty much the rest of the lobby sitting up the top, thinking it's going to be one of those zones that pulls maybe just outside of the main checkpoint high ground. But it's not, and all of a sudden, LG trying to play with their space a little bit, try to delay them with the knuckle clusters here, using another team's Watson fences to keep them at bay.
And Aurora is still popping off in your feeds currently right now. Some trade-offs happening as LG takes split position versus Liquid, who are still off of that low ground, gets that information off of the Seer. So many other squads coexisting, though. It's very worrisome, especially when the spiders already look like they have been cleared out here, too. So you're not going to feel that extra pressure from the wildlife. Cholos getting eliminated by Aurora from that previous fight that we mentioned.
Okay, now there's that map screen that we were talking about. We're about to see where this next zone will pull as well. That'll give us a lot of information about how this game is going to finish up. But as you can see, the majority of teams very much not expecting this. That's why FaZe have been able to split hold those buildings. It pulls even further southwest. So those the buildings that FaZe are holding, split holding, are actually not going to be the best. They'll be able to, you know, probably parlay that into another good position. But Gaming Gladiators have Godspot right now.
And that's thanks to the fact that Gaming Gladiators take their time to play by the edge, whereas FaZe had scanned in Pylon and immediately settled inside this building. Gaming Gladiators took their time to rotate from Echo and then had that next circle ring information on their rotate originally, now playing on the edge without putting themselves in a sandwiching position, as Twisted Minds have now moved up and Team Liquid fighting for their lives alongside the rest of this lobby, basically coming out of checkpoint.
Oh, Yanya comes in off the back here, not being expected. I think that's Makers on the other side of that. Yeah, Dexter goes down to the knuckle cluster. They've got the scan now as well. He can't hide.
Oh, his toes were just poking out enough for Nizul to get the follow-up on the Hemlock to take care of Makers. Another squad in the distance, I believe that is disguised here, as Team Liquid were able to reset. Juarez was incredibly low, but still, after feeling that pressure, utilize that knuckle cluster to get aggressive. Funk, talking about low, literally 1 pixel as he's forced to drop down in disguise, playing off the high ground.
We've dropped down to 10 squads, Vicky, where in round 4, that's reasonably low, and part of that is because of that radical shift in the zone to the south. FaZe still split holding the buildings, by the way. I'm just going to keep saying it because at some point someone needs to try and take that away from them, and it will be a question of whether FaZe, recognize that in time and group up together, or if one or two of them get caught out of positions. Because I can tell you, teams like Twisted Mind are coming for them at the moment. But now it's really time for these teams up north to move. Disguise have to go for it. Luminosity there as well. Team Liquid starting to commit ults versus GK Esports. Disguise will be one of the last teams, however, try and make their way in.
Oh, they're just following right behind, though. Luminosity, who are about to get sandwiched by Team Falcons and Disguise at the same time.
92% on the ult, didn't have the portal to get inside.
That's huge here because that's what they rely on for these difficult rotates, and now it is free firing for Jen Burden. He gets the knock. How follows up onto LG, so both these squads losing out on one member also slows them down on a rotate where they can feel the pressure on the other side.
Oh, look at that spot
okay.
from Falcons. I mean, they picked something that's just at the edge of zone, so they don't have to commit, too hard. They don't have to commit further. And meanwhile, it just gives them all this opportunity to start bursting out kills. And you can see it, their numbers ticking ever higher. 15 points so far in our 10-match series for Falcon. 0 barking orders as per usual.
Literally, Falcons are so hungry that they were able to pressure Liquid. We saw them take care of Disguise, but maybe have they overextended just a little bit with Gaming Gladiators now rotating right behind them.
Hal up to 5 kills this game. He had a couple in the first as well. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the overall kill leader by the end of this game.
Gaming Gladiators actually backed away while Falcons are literally looking at both directions. They look like chameleons. They're looking at Liquid on one side. They're looking at Gaming Gladiators from the other. But all of these teams here are not in that next circle. What is this next plan here as the smokes have been exhausted? Zero gets knocked here. And it's only Jen and Zero and Hal playing behind the tree as the circle closes in behind their backs.
GG on one side, Team Liquid on the other. Is any kind of reset possible here? They haven't got the full kill just yet. Okay. There we go. No. Jaguares does finish them off, and not just him, but the rest of Falcons actually. Surprised that happened so quickly from what seemed to be a position of power playing on the edge of the ring. A lot of the other teams, I guess, once they became a bit more stabilized, started turning their attention outwards, and Falcons hadn't opened up enough of a path for themselves by that point. So we move down to the last 5 squads, and Twisted Minds actually in a pretty good spot. Looking here, as we've got TL just playing from the roof. They've even got the... Look at that replicator on the top there. That was that's a nice little bit of cover. I didn't know they could drop on buildings.
Yeah, for free cover right there too, especially with that cat wall right in front of them. Liquid get eliminated in a difficult rotation. Twisted Minds out for blood, neighboring that of LG, who are only down to a duo. Gaming Gladiators, the only other squad left in this lobby as a full trio.
Twisted Minds leading the lobby right now. The only team to make it to the top 3 in our first 2 games on Storm Point. I mean, historically, in APAC South, they have been phenomenal on this map, and they are continuing that run here, even at LAN, even with the best teams in the world at their throats.
So scary to see the way that this team is positioned too here. Slight lip of a high ground, but they cannot ignore the duel that is on the low ground of LG, but their main focus is going to be Gaming Gladiators. You can see them trying to take out into the line of sight behind this tree here before they're forced to move forward into the center of the circle in the next 15 seconds.
Luminosity with only 2 alive are just trying to hold on. Gaming Gladiators here. On the other side of this, you can see just trying to play around the head glitches, but that's pretty hard when Easy Flash has got the bead on you right now. Only about 2 clips left in, so he needs to be a little bit careful, but the damage he's doing right now is extremely helpful when the zone is just about to push them out from behind that tree.
I was going to say, literally on the sticks, even sharing a little bit of the energy ammo here, while Sweet just practicing, seeing if he could be the mountain climber that LG needs. It doesn't look like he could get that final climb. It doesn't look like they even had an evac tower here. We're going to have to see if they manage to climb their way out from that disadvantage. But Gaming Gladiators, we saw the 0 coming up now. They're getting more information. But right now, the mother load from the other side and the bombardment of nades. Easy Flash gets 2 knocks. GG only down to like, who is one, runs for his life before he gets caught. The evac tower from LG. The timing. Can they make the magic happen? Now, with only Sykes alive here on the other side, but it is not enough. Twisted Minds barely took any damage from the other fight. They had the Evo shield swaps on top of it, and the pop-offs here.